I opened my email and saw a notification about a large sum being withdrawn from our joint account. Laura. My wife. Did she really think I wouldn't notice how she was quietly preparing to disappear with my money and her lover? I always knew Laura loved luxury. Expensive restaurants, designer clothes, exotic travel, I paid for it all because I loved her and wanted us to have the best life possible. I worked 12-hour days building my business while she found herself. When I first met Laura at a charity gala in Boston 5 years ago, she captivated me instantly. Her elegant black dress, her infectious laugh, and the way she commanded attention from everyone in the room. I was just an up-and-coming tech entrepreneur then, my first startup beginning to show real promise after years of struggle. Laura was an interior designer who worked with wealthy clients, or so she claimed. "What do you do for fun, Daniel?" she asked me that night, champagne glass delicately poised between her fingers. "Fun?" I laughed. "I've forgotten what that is." I told her about the 80-hour weeks, the investor meetings, the constant anxiety of keeping my dream alive. "You need someone to remind you there's more to life," she said, touching my arm. "Let me show you." And she did. Our first date was a helicopter tour over New England's fall foliage. Our second was a weekend in a Nantucket beach house. She introduced me to fine wines, contemporary art, and the kind of relaxation I denied myself for years. I fell hard and fast. We married within 8 months. My business partners questioned the rush, but I dismissed their concerns. When you know, you know. After the wedding, Laura quit her design job. "I want to focus on making our home perfect," she said. "And maybe start my own brand someday." I supported her completely. My company was doing well, we just secured Series B funding, and I wanted her to be happy. That first year was bliss. She redecorated our Cambridge townhouse, throwing lavish dinner parties for my investors and business connections. Everyone loved her, especially me. When she suggested adding her to my accounts for household expenses, I didn't hesitate. The changes were subtle at first. She started spending more time at yoga retreats and wellness weekends. "I need to center myself," she'd explain, kissing me goodbye while I worked through another weekend. I barely noticed the growing distance, too consumed with scaling my company nationally. Then came the unexplained expenses. A $3,000 charge at a hotel in Manhattan when she was supposedly at her sister's in Connecticut. A $7,000 jewelry purchase that never appeared among her accessories. When I casually asked about these discrepancies, her explanation seemed plausible. "The hotel? My sister's place had a pipe burst, so we stayed in the city. I thought I told you." Or, "The jewelry was a birthday gift for my mother. You'll see it next time we visit." I wanted to believe her. I did believe her. But when I noticed that $15,000 had disappeared from our joint savings account, I couldn't ignore it anymore. "Oh, I've been investing in a promising startup," she said, eyes bright with enthusiasm. "My friend Melissa's brother launched this amazing fintech platform. The returns are incredible, Daniel. I wanted to surprise you with the profits." I nodded, smiled, and pretended to accept her explanation. That night, while she slept, I checked her phone. No messages about investments. Nothing about a friend named Melissa. But dozens of texts to someone saved as M with heart emojis and messages that made my stomach turn. "Can't wait until next week. Just us. Missing your touch tonight." He has no idea. Still, I needed absolute certainty. The next morning, I called my college roommate, now a private investigator in Providence. "Jason, I need a favor." "It's personal." He didn't ask questions. Good investigators rarely do. 5 days later, an encrypted email arrived with dozens of photos. Laura entering the Four Seasons in Back Bay. Laura dining at Soralina, holding hands with a man I'd never seen. Laura kissing him in the elevator. Time stamps showed these meetings happened during her supposed self-care days and girls' nights. The man was handsome in that generic, polished way, designer suits, expensive haircut, the confident posture of someone used to getting what he wanted. Later, I learned his name was Matthew Ellison, a wealth manager who specialized in helping affluent women secure their financial futures. I understood exactly what that meant now. I spent the next week in a daze, mechanically attending meetings and answering emails while my mind raced through options. I could confront her immediately. I could file for divorce. I could pretend I didn't know and live in miserable denial. But none of those options felt right. Laura had carefully cultivated her plan, the systematic draining of our accounts, the elaborate lies. I wouldn't respond with impulsive emotion. I would be just as calculated. First, I visited my lawyer to understand my options. Then I met with my financial advisor to secure my assets. Finally, I contacted my bank to track exactly how much she'd taken, nearly $180,000 over the past 6 months. On a Tuesday morning, I received another alert, $25,000 transferred from our joint account to an unknown destination. That same day, Jason sent me a final report. Laura and Matthew had booked flights to Bali departing in 2 weeks, and reserved a luxury villa for a month. The cost? Just over $40,000, paid from my account. It was time to act. I transferred all remaining funds from our joint accounts into a new account only I could access. I called our credit card companies and reported my cards stolen, ensuring new ones would be issued only to me. I canceled the automatic payments on her personal credit cards that had been linked to my accounts. Then I contacted the Four Seasons and, pretending to be Matthew, canceled their standing room reservation. I did the same with the Bali villa and the first-class flight tickets. I even called her favorite stores, Neiman Marcus, Saks, Nordstrom, and removed her as an authorized user on my accounts. Finally, I changed the security system codes on our house. That evening, I sat in our living room with a glass of Macallan, the expensive scotch I'd been saving for a special occasion, and waited. Laura burst through the door at 7:30, her face flushed with panic. "Daniel! Something's wrong with our accounts. My cards were declined at Barney's, and the ATM won't let me withdraw any cash." I took a slow sip of scotch. "That's strange. Have you called the bank?" "Yes. They said to talk to you." She dropped her bag, frustration evident in every movement. "And I just got a call that our hotel reservation for next weekend was cancelled." "What's going on?" "Next weekend? I thought you were having a spa retreat with Jennifer." Her hesitation was brief, but noticeable. "Yes, at the hotel. The spa package was part of the stay." I nodded thoughtfully. "Jennifer, remind me how you know her again." "From yoga," Laura said quickly. "You met her at the Christmas party last year." "Ah, right." I took another sip. "The redhead with the law practice." "Exactly." She smiled, relieved. "Except there was no red-headed lawyer named Jennifer at our Christmas party. And you've never once mentioned a Jennifer from yoga." Her smile faltered. "What are you talking about?" "Of course I have." I set down my glass and reached for the manila envelope on the coffee table. "I think you're confusing your lies, Laura. It's probably hard to keep track of all of them." "What is this?" Her voice had lost its confidence. "Evidence." I spread the photographs across the table. "You and Matthew Ellison. Four Seasons. Soralina. The elevator where you apparently couldn't keep your hands off each other." I looked up at her. "The $180,000 you've stolen from me. The Bali plans." The color drained from her face. For once in our marriage, Laura was speechless. "I've cancelled the flights, by the way. And the villa. Actually, I've cancelled everything, your access to my money, your credit cards, your little escape plan." All of it. She switched tactics instantly, tears welling in her eyes. Daniel, please. It's not what it looks like. Matthew is just your lover. Your accomplice in defrauding me. Your ticket out of this marriage with a significant portion of my net worth. I stood up. Don't insult my intelligence on top of everything else. I made a mistake, she whispered, reaching for my hand. We can work through this. Go to counseling. Start fresh. I moved away from her touch. There's a suitcase by the door with some of your things. I've taken the liberty of packing essentials. The rest can be arranged through my lawyer. You're throwing me out. You can't do that. This is my home too. Actually, it's not. The house is in my name, purchased before our marriage. Check the deed. She stared at me in disbelief. Where am I supposed to go? I believe Matthew has a condo on Marlborough Street. Though I'm not sure how he'll feel about a long-term guest now that your funds have evaporated. I picked up my phone. Should I call him for you? I have his number. Her shock transformed into rage. You'll regret this, Daniel. I'm entitled to half of everything. My lawyer will explain Massachusetts law regarding financial infidelity and theft. We'll review our prenup that specifically addresses adultery. We'll examine the evidence of your systematic defrauding. Please, by all means, get a lawyer. I handed her another envelope. These are my lawyer's details. All communication goes through him now. Laura grabbed the suitcase, her hands shaking with fury. This isn't over. It is for me. I opened the front door. I've also taken the liberty of informing building security that your access is revoked. If you need to retrieve additional belongings, you'll need to schedule it through my lawyer. She paused at the threshold, her perfect facade completely shattered. I did love you once, you know. No, Laura. You loved what I could give you. There's a difference. After she left, I poured another scotch and called Jason. It's done, I told him. Keep the surveillance active for another month. I want to know if she tries anything. Will do. How are you holding up? I considered the question. Better than expected. It's like lancing a wound, painful, but necessary for healing. The next few weeks unfolded exactly as I'd anticipated. Laura moved in with Matthew, but their relationship quickly deteriorated when he realized she brought no financial assets to the table. My lawyer handled her increasingly desperate legal threats, each one more baseless than the last. I threw myself back into work, finding unexpected clarity now that the fog of betrayal had lifted. Our company landed 2 major contracts, and a potential acquirer expressed interest at a valuation beyond our wildest projections. 3 weeks after Laura's departure, I returned home to find a handwritten letter slipped under my door. Daniel, I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need to see you. Everything has fallen apart. Matthew left. I have nowhere to go. Please call me. L. I read it twice, then dropped it into the shredder. A week later, another note appeared, this time with tear stains blurring the ink. I'm staying at the Holiday Inn on Cambridge Street, room 214. I have nothing left. Please, Daniel. Just one conversation. I shredded this one too, but curiosity gnawed at me. How had the mighty fallen? The woman who had planned to abscond with my fortune was now holed up in a budget hotel. I instructed Jason to drive by and confirm her situation without engaging. His report was illuminating. She's working at the hotel front desk. Manager says she was desperate for a job, took minimum wage plus the employee discount on the room. She looks rough, man. I felt nothing. Or perhaps that's not entirely true, I felt the absence of what should have been there. No satisfaction. No vindication. No closure. Just emptiness where our life together had been. 1 month to the day after Laura left, I received a call from an unknown number. Mr. Harrington. This is Massachusetts General Hospital. We have a Laura Harrington here. You're listed as her emergency contact. My first instinct was suspicion, another manipulation. What happened? She was found unresponsive in her hotel room. Possible overdose. She's stable now, but she's asking for you. I almost declined. What did I owe her? But something, curiosity, residual humanity, or perhaps just the need for true closure, made me agree to come. The hospital room was harsh with fluorescent lighting that emphasized Laura's pallor. Gone were the designer clothes and perfect makeup. She looked small under the thin blanket, and 4 in her arm, dark circles under her closed eyes. I stood in the doorway, uncertain. Her eyes fluttered open. You came, she whispered, her voice rough. The hospital called. Neutral. Factual. She tried to sit up, wincing. I didn't try to kill myself if that's what you're thinking. I just couldn't sleep. 4 days. I took too many pills. I remained by the door. What do you want, Laura? To explain. Not to excuse, I know there's no excuse. She looked down at her hands, nails now bitten to the quick. I met Matthew at a time when I was feeling invisible in our marriage. When I was working to build our future. The bitterness surprised me. Yes. I know how that sounds. She closed her eyes briefly. It started as harmless flirting, then emotional connection. He made me feel seen when you were always at the office. Then he started suggesting ways I could secure my future. Small withdrawals at first. That progressed to emptying our accounts. She nodded, shame evident. He was persuasive. Convinced me you were probably hiding assets, that all successful men do. That I deserved security. A tear slid down her cheek. I justified it as insurance, not theft. Then it became an exit strategy. And Bali? His idea. A month away where you couldn't find us while he'd managed the money. Set up offshore accounts. She looked directly at me. I was a fool, Daniel. A greedy, insecure fool. Where is he now? Gone. The moment he realized I couldn't access any more funds, he vanished. Turns out I wasn't the first wife he'd targeted. She attempted a smile that came out as a grimace. He left me with $300 to my name and a hotel job that barely covers a room most people wouldn't kennel their dogs in. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt hollow. What do you want from me, Laura? Forgiveness? Money? To come home? I don't know, she admitted. Maybe just for you to see what's become of me. Maybe that's punishment enough. I stood there for a long moment, watching this stranger who had once been my wife. The woman I had built dreams around. I'll have my lawyer send you enough for first and last month's rent on an apartment. And a modest allowance until the divorce is final. After that, you're on your own. Relief and disappointment mingled in her expression. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. I turned to leave, then paused. Was any of it real, Laura? Us? She hesitated, then nodded slowly. In the beginning. Before I lost myself in who I thought I wanted to be. Before I convinced myself that things were more important than what we had. I nodded once and left, the antiseptic hospital air still clinging to my clothes as I walked to my car. That night, I didn't go home. I drove to the Cape, to a small cottage I'd bought years before meeting Laura. She never knew about it, my private refuge when the startup stress became overwhelming. I sat on the deck overlooking the dark Atlantic, listening to waves crash against the shore. My phone buzzed with work emails and messages from friends wondering where I'd disappeared to. I ignored them all, focusing instead on the rhythmic sound of water meeting land, again and again, wearing smooth what once was jagged. In the morning, I called my lawyer. I want to modify the divorce terms, I said without preamble. Daniel, we have her dead to rights. The prenup is ironclad, her infidelity is documented, and the financial theft. I'm aware. But I want to provide a reasonable settlement. Silence on the other end. Define reasonable. The condo in Back Bay, not our main house. A structured monthly payment for 3 years. Enough for her to rebuild, but not enough to fund extravagance. And she relinquishes all other claims. May I ask why? After what she did. I watched a gull dive into the water, emerging with its prize. Because I don't want to spend the next year of my life looking backward. And because living well is the best revenge. My lawyer sighed. It's your money. I'll draw up the terms. I ended the call and walked down to the beach, shoes in hand, feeling the cool sand between my toes. For the first time in months, I breathed easily. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Laura accepted the terms without negotiation, her signature on the papers a shaky version of her once confident scrawl. I sold my company 6 months after that, for a sum that made the money Laura had tried to take seem like pocket change. I bought a home in Seattle, as far from Boston as I could get while staying in the country, and started a small venture capital firm focusing on startups with ethical business models. On the 1-year anniversary of discovering Laura's betrayal, I received a small package at my office. Inside was a check for the full amount I'd given her in the settlement and a note. I couldn't cash the monthly payments anymore. Each one felt like a reminder of what I destroyed. I've been sober for 10 months. Working as a design assistant again. Starting over properly. The condo is on the market, proceeds will go to you once it sells. Not because I have to, but because I need to. L. I stared at the check for a long time before picking up the phone. Laura. It's Daniel. I got your package. Her voice was steadier than at the hospital, but cautious. I meant what I said in the note. I know. But I want you to tear up the check. Daniel. Use it to start your design firm. The one you always talked about. Silence, then a shaky inhalation. Why would you do that? I considered the question carefully. Because holding on to anger takes more energy than letting it go. And because we both need to move forward. I don't deserve your generosity. It's not about deserving. It's about choosing what kind of person I want to be. I paused. Take the money, Laura. Make something good with it. After we hung up, I walked to the window of my Seattle office, looking out at the Puget Sound, so different from the Atlantic shores I'd left behind. Rain tapped against the glass, the Seattle sky a canvas of gray and silver. My assistant knocked gently. Your investor meeting starts in 5 minutes, Mr. Harrington. Thank you, Alice. I turned from the window, straightening my tie. And please call the real estate agent. Tell her I'll take the lake house we looked at last week. The fixer-upper. Are you sure? It needs a lot of work. I smiled. I'm sure. Some things are worth rebuilding.